Good evening. Welcome to the Chaska Human Rights Commission meeting for August 22nd. First up on our agenda, can we do the roll call? Elise, please.
Commissioner Sanderson, Commissioner Hubbard,
Here.
Commissioner Gotti, here, Commissioner LaSour,
Here.
Commissioner Hamza, Commissioner Walbert, Commissioner Hanan, Commissioner Me,
Here.
Chair Carlson.
Here. Great. Agenda, excuse me. Agenda. Are there any changes, opportunities, deletions with regards to the agenda? If not, then may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Ren. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Ren, seconded by Martin to adopt the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes carry. Thank you. Our guest presentation is Libby Fairchild. She's back with us this evening to talk a little bit more about her proposal that she brought to us in the month of 2 months ago with regards to the celebration of typically held in October of Indigenous Peoples' Day. Thank you, Libby.
I'm Libby Fairchild, and I'm an enrolled member of the Ho-Chunk Nation of Wisconsin. Although there are about 450 of us who live in Minnesota, 2 in Carver County, and I'm also a resident of Chaska. I've been on the Human Rights Commission. I was the chair for many years. I represented Chaska at the League of Minnesota Human Rights Commissions. I was the chair there for 2 years. And seems though when there's something that comes up with the League of Minnesota Human Rights Commissions, I don't think they're still in existence, but then all the cities get together. For instance, our hate bias crime plan came about many years ago when I, as chair, worked with Scott Knight, the former chief of police, to put Chaskas together. And of course, we took a look at a lot of different cities and did a little bit of imitation, a little bit of why reinvent the wheel. So in putting this proclamation resolution together, I looked at the state resolution. I think that happened in 2021. So Minnesota recognized the second Monday in October as Columbus Day. A lot of cities do elsewhere too, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Edina, there are probably others. When I was doing my research, popped up Boulder, Colorado, and they did a lot of talking about the tribe that was located there and some of that history. But we have 2 major tribes with different bands. Minnesota, that would be the Dakota and the Anishinaabe, otherwise known as Ojibwe or Chippewa. My tribe has been in Minnesota forever too. We do have some trust land near Holcomb, Minnesota, right near the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota. And like I said, there are 2 of us who live in Carver County. Who the other one is, I have no clue. The tribe keeps really good enrollment records, and we do know there are almost 500 Ho-Chunks who live in Minnesota. So I looked at the Minnesota Resolution Proclamation, and I used some of the language from that resolution, that proclamation, but I added a few other things, and specifically the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, whereas I said Chaska is a city of Minnesota, and the name Chaska, actually pronounced Chaskay in Dakota, is the birth order name of Dakota's family's first sons. For instance, because I'm Ho-Chunk and I'm the first daughter, my Ho-Chunk name is Hinu, which means first daughter. You also get other names, but there's a birth order. So if somebody says Hinu, all these ears perk up when I'm among other tribal members, because I think they're being called by their moms. It went so far as to talk the Minnesota resolution about the UN sponsored international conference on discrimination against Indigenous population in the Americas. And it was first proposed in 1977. So this is my draft copy. I've got extra ones that I can leave. I have an electronic version, of course, like every other student. I did this at the last minute yesterday and I sent it to Sarah. I told her I'd bring copies. I don't know where we go from here. Of course, next Indigenous Peoples' Day is October 14th, so you have one more commission meeting before this. I'm not so certain you have a city council meeting because I think you take it on to them. Does anyone have any questions? I know you haven't had a chance to review it.
Came before us 2 months ago. You talked about the importance and the significance of having this proclamation. And I'm wondering if you could speak to and share some of your thoughts again.
Well, as I was told by a city employee, well, Minnesota already recognizes it. I don't know why we need to do this, but I think it's important, especially with our name. As a matter of fact, I think if this happens here in Chaska, I'm gonna go to the Carver County Board and ask them to do the same for the, for Carver County. Because Waconia and Chanhassen, Chaska included, are all Dakota words. I don't have the meanings with me for Waconia and Chanhassen. I think it has something to do with sugar maple with Chanhassen. But I think it's important for us to recognize that this was traditionally called Columbus Day, but as we all know, he was lost. And I don't know why we would honor someone who started out for one country and ended up somewhere else. And then a lot of the genocide happened because of what happened when he found the country. I'm not saying that it's bad to be white, because of course I'm 3/4 white. But I just think it's important for us to get on board and claim Indigenous Peoples' Day here in Chaska.
Have you had conversations with members of the city council to kind of gauge their support?
yet.
Okay.
Not yet, but I'm willing to come after you approve, if you approve, and go. They know me. I've been there before.
Comments, questions, thoughts?
No, first glance, I think this looks good.
I can come back next month, now that I've done my homework.
Subject to, we don't know if we're going to be here in September.
Oh, okay.
There is something certainly that you alluded to. The city of Blaine is providing an opportunity for equity and human rights commissions from the Twin Cities to gather and to share and to listen and to hear and to learn. And so we'll be talking about whether or not this group, if all of us, if some of us can go to that meeting next month. So for sure, unfortunately, that would be push us to October after October 14th. But not impossible.
I was gonna ask, is there a way that we could conditionally approve this with a week to review or something, you know, given a couple of days? I just, it feels like if we're gonna act this year, tonight's the night to do something, knowing that we need, you know, maybe a day or two to review it, but I don't know what others think, so.
Thoughts?
I'm okay with that. In a conditional like approval today.
Uh-huh. And that could also be a chance that we could get this out to our other commission members who aren't here this evening and just ask them to weigh in. Would that be something that you would consider?
Yeah, I would.
So how about this, as the author of this draft document? Do you
I
want?
plagiarized it from the state, but okay, I did
Our
find
code.
some grammar errors, which I corrected, but.
Stood on the shoulders of others.
Do you want to just walk us through?
Okay. You want me to just read it?
Um,
First whereas was one that was in the statewide. Except for I added a whole chunk, and that's how we spell it officially. Whereas the area known today as a located on ancestral lands that have been called home by the Anishinaabe, Dakota, and Ho-Chunk peoples since time immemorial, and whereas the Anishinaabe, Dakota, and Ho-Chunk peoples who resided on this land prior to the arrival of European settlers experienced a history of interactions with Europeans and Euro-American settlers defined by violence, broken promises, deprivation, and disease. This is a history that we must reconcile as we seek to build a brighter future for all Minnesotans in the city of Chaska, while striving to maintain strong government relationships and strengthen tribal sovereignty. And whereas Minnesota is home to 11 tribal nations, enrolled members of many other tribal nations, and a resilient and robust urban American Indian community. And whereas Indigenous peoples have made contributions to the history, culture, and economy of Minnesota, including traditional knowledge, labor, technology, science, philosophy, industry, and arts. And whereas Chaska is a city in Minnesota and the name Chaska is the birth order name of Dakota family's first son. And whereas the state of Minnesota and the city of Chaska strive to eliminate systemic racism and discrimination towards Indigenous peoples, seek to promote practices and policies that honor Indigenous roots, history, and contributions, recognize Indigenous peoples as contemporary peoples, and is committed to meaningful and genuine government-to-government relationship with the tribal nations that share the state and city's geography. And whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 at the United Nations-sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas, and whereas Indigenous Peoples Day serves as an important time to reflect on the experiences of Indigenous peoples to ensure greater access and opportunity, and whereas the city of Chaska joins a growing number of government entities across the country that have recognized the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day to promote appreciation, tolerance, reconciliation, understanding, friendship, and continued partnerships among all its peoples and the Indigenous peoples of this land. Now, therefore, I, Mark Winchell, Mayor of Chaska, do hereby proclaim Monday, October 14th, 2024, and every second Monday of October thereafter is Indigenous Peoples Day. Then the third page is the resolution from the state. I thought I'd
Great. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
So assuming we would pass this and, maybe give the rest of the group a day or two, would then you work with the city council to get on the agenda, or how would that next step work?
I would ask Elise to coordinate a time that I could come before city council and present this. I'm assuming that we should probably submit it to the mayor prior to, or for an agenda for a city council meeting that you would schedule for us.
Yeah, so the city council meeting that makes the most sense for this would be October 7th. That's our first meeting in October. And we would want to have it, we'll put it on the agenda, and it would make sense if, Chair Carlson, Ms. Fairchild, whoever else would like to come, be present for that. And we'll go through it with the mayor prior to that time as well. And just let him know that this is a proclamation that came out of a recommendation from the Human Rights Commission.
That make sense?
So
you can tell him I was involved too. I know Mark pretty well.
motion to approve the resolution pending review from the rest of the commission members.
Yes, you may make that motion. We'll need to clarify pending approval. However, is there a second to your motion? Or do you want to revise it before we ask for a second?
And maybe it's there's a length that maybe we add a length of time, right? You don't want to make it indefinite. Maybe it's pending a week's review from the rest of the commission.
Would that give us enough time to schedule ourselves?
Plenty of time. Mhm.
Okay. So
So can I make a motion to conditionally approve the resolution as written pending a week's review from the rest of the commissioners?
yes. Motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Having heard none, motion has been made by Ren, seconded by Martin to conditionally approve the City of Chaska, Minnesota resolution and proclamation regarding the Indigenous Peoples' Day pending pending approval of the full commission, no, pending review of other absent commission members within 1 week period of time from tonight. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Libby, for being here.
We'll be in touch,
Okay,
an electronic version.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak.
you're very
Thank you for
welcome.
coming.
Okay, the minutes from our last meeting. If you've had a chance to take a look at them, are there any changes, deletions, additions, comments? Having heard none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 25th?
So
Thank you. Motion's been made by Juhi. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Kevin to approve the minutes of July 25th. If there's no further comments, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the treasurer's report, the drum roll, please. Elise, would you be so kind as to fill us in on the treasurer's report?
Certainly, Chair and Commissioners, on the back page of your packet is your treasurer's report since the last meeting. You can see some additional purchases that we had in July. I don't think we had the ice cream from the Pride celebration that has gone through, as well as some additional artwork and supplies for your community artwork that was done. And then the River City Days supplies, you can see that cost is reflected as well as the costs of the booth for the event. So I believe you had set aside or approved a $500 budget for River City Days. You can see you spent about $150. That unused budget went back into the balance that's reflected at the bottom of the sheet.
Great. Are there any questions for Elise?
It feels like we have more money at this point than we did last year. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And is there and maybe we'll have that later, the plan to use it for the culture celebration, or are there other things that we should be considering?
Certainly we have the cultural celebration. I don't think that we budgeted much for participating at the Latin Music and Food Festival last year. You were there with me. So we had some handouts and some maps, but I don't think there were other expenses associated with it because I don't think we were charged a booth fee.
No, not for that event.
So I think that we're still looking possibly at a cultural event activity in October. We're certainly looking at some type of veterans participation in an event that may require some funding. We've talked about what else have we talked about this year? We generally see a request coming from Latino Voices to help with some funding for the Day of the Dead celebration, their display. I believe that Latino Voices is going to be doing something else this year and has initially reached out, but I don't have any details about what it is that they would like from us. We have Carver County Pride. I think we'll later hear from Kevin, hopefully, about whether or not we're going to be participating or even being present in that setting. So,
There's still money to be spent.
yes, I guess that's a long-winded answer to say, yes, we have money. And they certainly could be spent on various activities. So yes.
Okay, great.
So are there any other questions regarding the budget?
Keep in mind that we need to buy swag for next year.
Oh, that's
We
right.
do that every December-ish. And then this year we spent money on Hooked on Books. And I believe we started the conversation in 2023, like November or something, and we kept pushing it back. So we'll have to keep that in mind for this year if we want to spend more money.
Yep, that makes sense.
There. That's all. That's it.
Any other comments? Kevin, Juhi, thoughts about the money? Okay, if not, may I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there a second? If there's no further questions, all in favor of approving the treasurer's report dated August 22nd, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Carver County Pride. What's up?
So they are more than willing to have us have a table there to promote the Chaska Human Rights Commission, in waiving the fee that they charge. And I know I emailed on to Elise the form to sign up for volunteering stuff, and she sent it on. I haven't had time to look to see if anyone signed up or responded.
Got
So-
one response,
Okay.
or I've gotten
So-
two,
When was
One.
it sent?
several weeks ago.
But I was gonna follow up with them tomorrow. I had a lot going on with work and personal stuff, so
Okay, so let's talk about if, who were the two people who responded to showing up at the Pride?
You responded that you were available, and Jen responded that she is not available.
Okay, so the big question first off is, do we want to have a presence there? And I will, because I said I could be there, I believe that we should be there for a period of time. I do not know if I can spend the entire day there. This is August 31st at Carver County Carver County Fairgrounds. So certainly logistics, we would have to get a table there. I guess we'd have to have a table there. Because Kevin, I'm assuming they won't give us a table.
I would have to double check and look, 'cause I don't remember what they had
Don't-
said.
I don't think it was just space, but I could be wrong.
I will have to go back and look.
Okay, so, so logistically, maybe we'll bring some things, and if we have any swag left over from River City days, I guess we could bring that.
We also have, probably 30 to 40 t-shirts left.
Could certainly give those away. But Martin says I normally show up for things. And I'm just wondering, they came to us and they asked, Carver County Pride came to us and said, we want to do these things. And when they approached the city of Chaska, we said collectively through Kevin and Jennifer and Britt, that we can't do a county-wide program. We are the city of Chaska. And so we'll continue to do our city of Chaska events, which collectively we all agreed that was fun. and good for our community. So our presence there in August, they have a lists of activities and events and entertainment. So it will be more than Chaska has done. I think we should be there in some manner. How many of us can do that? I mean, we all have busy schedules. I'm willing to be there for at least several hours. If one of you can join us or join me, that'd be terrific. If not, I'll just be there for a while.
I am free that day. I
You,
just checked.
did I
so
hear that?
I am able to do that. How early are you planning on being there?
I think the event is in the afternoon. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's an afternoon, it'd be like, I'm gonna say 11, but I could be completely wrong, but it's not at 8 AM. It's 11 to into the later afternoon and evening, early evening. And I wouldn't, like I said, I would not, I am not able to do the entire day, but I could certainly be there for a period of time.
Yes.
I think I can be there for a period of time as well. I must have missed the sign up, so sorry.
I think so too.
I didn't see, I checked my email, I didn't get it.
You didn't get it?
I didn't get one. But that's, I usually don't get her emails right away. I've got to search for them. But I
Huh.
did search, there, but I can't be, well, it depends on the time frame. If it runs later in the evening, then I can participate in the evening. I work during the day, so I won't be able to be there.
Right. Kevin, are you able to search the time real quick?
That's what I'm looking up right now.
I
Great.
pulled up the email I sent out to folks and it's from 11 AM to 8 PM.
11 to 8, yeah.
Are we, I know there was some discussion about doing tie-dye there for the t-shirts. Is that still our plan or are we planning on doing
Hey.
something else?
Do you want to, how long do you want your hands to be blue?
Hey, I mean, it happens once a year for a month, so I can, we can make it work.
I mean, we could do that again. We certainly have the supplies.
You'd have to have access to water.
That would be the biggest thing. I'm assuming at the fairgrounds, there would be access to water, but logistically, I don't know where that would be. And I don't know where we would be in relationship to water.
It could also be a pie on this wheel and just give the t-shirts away that, you know.
True. I mean, so we have that Costco wagon thing that folds, and my mom has those giant 5-gallon water bottles. So if it came down to it, just put 2 of those in there and wheel it around, and I can take care of that if we don't have
Okay,
convenient access to water. So if we still wanted to do tie-dye, that's an option.
okay. All right.
And can I ask, I haven't seen the list of things. Does it make sense for us to be there from 11 to 8 or that feels like a long time, but
I don't, Kevin, I don't want to speak for your subcommittee, so please share.
I think that we don't need to be there for the full 9 hours. That's a lot. We're not that big of a commission and everyone's busy, but if people can be there for a couple few hours
Sure.
at any point in that 9 hours, I think that'll be good enough.
So maybe if we said, if we agreed between the hours of 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 11 to 3? I won't look at you, Martin, sorry.
I'll think about
I
you.
can definitely be there the entire time if it were 11 to 3.
I could do 11 to 3, but yeah,
I could be there 1 to 3 or
that'd be great. Okay. So will you convey to the group tomorrow that, yes, we will be there?
Yeah.
And so here's the next question. Do we want to do tie-dye?
I think we should.
How many t-shirts did you think we have?
40. Instead of ordering custom t-shirts, is it possible to just get bulk white t-shirts from Amazon or something?
We can see if we can get it delivered by next Friday. I think that's the biggest
You mean for next year, or we're talking about spending money for this event now?
If it's if we're, how do I phrase this? If it would come in time for that, for the 31st of August this year, then I guess it makes sense because 35 to 40 is not that many in the grand scheme of things, but I also don't know how many people would be walking by us, so.
I think that there will be a big turnout. And I base that solely on their page that's been promoting and advertising who's coming, the events that they've got scheduled, the music that they've got scheduled. I think it's possible that we could see a high number. We could also, but collectively, do we want to spend money to tie-dye t-shirts? That would be a next question for us.
My answer would be no. And I only say this because it's a last minute thing. So if you order these shirts, they're going to be plain and they're just gonna tie dye them. So how do you know?
Promote us.
Yeah, where are they from? They're just the tie dye. They'd have to remember it came as opposed to the ones we already have tie dyed, they're advertising. And then maybe next year, we do this again next year, those who sponsored the shirts this year, maybe they can add a little more money so we can buy more shirts.
Okay. Ren, do you have any other thoughts about?
No, I think I agree with Martin. I think it's probably nice to have, but it's probably, we either tie-dye what we have or just give away what we have and instructions on
And
how
we
to
could
tie-dye.
certainly use the spinning wheel.
True. What do we have left from River City Days in terms of swag items? Was it just the Frisbees?
You have Frisbees and a few bags. You don't have a lot, but you would have enough to bring to this event.
For the 4 hours that were there between the shirts and the Frisbees and the bags.
And then we can use candy as the.
And my only other thought is, I think it would be fun, but if we only have a table, tie-dye tends to spread.
Take up space.
It's not quite like glitter, but it's close to glitter.
Yeah.
If we don't get shirts for this year, especially with this being the first year that this festival is going on and the first year that we have a presence, maybe we just put a pause on tie-dyeing at their event this year and see what we can do for next year too.
Yeah, this might be a good learning to then next year we have a different, we are engaged differently, right? Where maybe we sponsor an activity or something else.
Because we have,
Yeah.
as the Pride Subcommittee, we've already talked about building a deeper relationship with Carver County Pride starting next year, next calendar year anyway. So it's just gonna be a good thing to use to deepen the relationship and build off of it for next year as well.
Makes good sense. Okay, so logistics then. Well, I could take the spinner home tonight. You don't have to worry about the spinner tonight, just your monitor tonight, Martin. Okay, so we'll have the spinner. I can come and get the stuff from the basement if it's not still in your corner office.
None of it's sitting in my office, but I have some things that kind of go through, and you probably want like up the banner that you do at River City Days to promote who you are. And I think just as a suggestion, if we can find out if you need a table, if you need a tent, then I can pull it all together and then it's an easy exchange, however that might go.
Yeah,
Can I borrow that Sharpie to make a note for myself, please? Thank you.
okay. Any other thoughts about this event? And I think it's important to remember that we're there as allies to this initiative that Carver County has gathered their resources and they came to our event I think that they want to be more broad in their efforts to be inclusive. And I certainly think that we can come alongside them.
Have, sorry, have they come before us this year to explain what they're doing or to talk about what they're doing?
No, they joined on one virtual subcommittee meeting, and then else besides that has just been via email.
I think it would be nice if they made a presentation, a visitor presentation for those of us who never met them. We don't really know much about what they're doing. Good idea.
And Kevin, maybe also a thought is, we're committed to be there between 11 and 3, right? 3 of us at various times. If there's other things that would be more helpful for them, to support them rather than just having a table, maybe that's something that we offer as well. I mean, we'll plan on having a table, but if there's other things that they would prefer that we helped with or that they needed staffing for or whatnot, because again, to the point of we're there to be an ally to them, that's maybe they need other things.
Yeah, I noted both those down here, so that way when I email them tomorrow morning, I'll include it. So,
Great, I appreciate you following up.
no problem. I will probably end up doing it late morning. I have to bring my kid to the doctor's appointment tomorrow morning, so I'll send it after that.
How does that feel to say my kid?
I know, I was gonna
Very
say.
weird. Very, very weird. So it's just it's this 2-week checkup, so
And do you want to share anything about that event?
his name is Luca. Luca Duranka. Duranka is my wife's maiden name. So he chose as his middle name. Was born on August 9th. So that Friday. After 24 hours of labor. Yeah, it had to do like an emergency C-section. The umbilical cord was tied around his neck. So yeah, it was a long 24 hours. So
Your wife and baby are doing.
yeah, they were both healthy and good. I've had the better part of the last 2 weeks off of work. I took PTO. So we were both really tired. But he slept for like 7 hours last night. So
Shouldn't have said that out loud because you just totally jinxed it.
oh, no, he is a champion sleeper at night. So, and we know full well if and when we have a second kid, that kid's gonna be up every 30 minutes because Luca is a champion sleeper. So,
Awesome. Congratulations.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, after the meeting, I have some pictures on my phone. So
Great, we'll celebrate again.
perfect.
And also, we know that Commissioner Sanderson, Hannah, and her husband celebrated the birth of their daughter. So
Everybody's doing well on it.
everybody's well. Okay, so sorry, we got a little off track there. But as you can see, our viewing public, we are concerned about all humans in the city of Chaska, so we welcome your son.
Thank you.
Let's see, Dr. King's celebration. I think I'm going to turn to you again, Kevin, and see if our information to you, which was conveyed to your coworker, was sufficient, or if she needs additional information, or if it would be helpful for us to talk with her.
That was on my to-do list for tomorrow as well.
Okay.
Last week, her and I talked. She said that she's gonna take a couple days. I kind of like mull it over, make sure that what her thoughts matched up with the intention behind the event, and it's just worth our time to have her and her time to be here. And then my wife and I went into labor, so haven't had time to follow up. But that was also on my to-do list tomorrow, was to follow up with her.
Okay.
So
So, do you want to
yes,
share with the other
so the person I reached out to her name is Karen Law. She is the like vice president of HR for the nonprofit I work for, not vice president of HR in DEI, and she's a woman of color, a very dynamic speaker. So I reached out to her to see if she'd be interested in speaking at the MLK event. She asked a few follow-up questions of like, what's the event, what's behind it, like meaning behind it, things of that sort. She's interested in possibly speaking. She just wants to make sure that it's a good fit for us and for her. Since we both work for the same nonprofit, she's waiving her any speaking fee that she would normally charge. Um, so, but she is interested in the idea. I just have to follow up with her to see if it's a yes or what her thoughts are. So we had about an hour-long conversation 2-3 weeks ago, and she was very interested in it. So
That's great. So, the other, interesting development from the MLK, subcommittee is that, and you might recall the name Stacy Kumar Nelson. She was a person that worked with us several years ago and helped bring the PBS series to us, Race, the Power of Illusion. And she has worked with us the past 2 years on the MLK. She is a Comcast employee, has great skills in terms of coordinating, helping us write the scripts, and coordinating activities. She has had a very busy summer. Apologize for her lack of response, but she is on board with us to help us plan. So she'll continue that work, and she's familiar with the process. I've also reached out to 2 choral groups in hopes that there might be some music. We certainly have Carver County Arts Consortium to talk with in addition. So we're moving forward. Cultural Heritage Month. Well, sadly, Juhi and I don't have very much to report on.
We're supposed to meet within the next week or so.
Supposed to meet within the next week. Time is slipping by, and I don't honestly know. We'll make that decision and bring it back to the commission as to what we can do in the limited time frame. We did send a survey out, asked folks to weigh in. Basically, the survey said, would you be willing to help? What cultures would be appropriate to celebrate this year? And I think in talking to Kevin Wright, we did receive some responses, but not many. So it was a great idea to kind of tap the community and say, tell us what you're thinking. So we'll just have to put our heads together and see what we can do.
was this the first year that this survey was utilized?
Yes. Yeah. And we thought it was a good idea because after last year's event, where we celebrated the countries of Africa, we heard that, well, we should have a worldwide event. We should incorporate everyone. And so when you think about everyone, then you think about, well, how are we going to celebrate everyone? And what can we learn from an everyone celebration? And can we narrow that focus a little bit? And so thus the survey was born, and here we are. So we'll get together next week, hopefully, and hopefully come back with suggestions and opportunities for us to consider.
Just out of curiosity, what were the results of the survey? Like what cultures were?
Well, I think there were less than 5 responses. And I do not have the results.
Okay.
I do not either.
We've talked about Indigenous peoples recognition, the veteran acknowledgement.
I
Um,
committed to get people together and failed, so I will do that this month before we meet again.
And
There was
I have the
somebody-
name of the contact person for you for the veterans officer.
Yep.
Um,
And potentially, so I hadn't thought about spending money before, but maybe if we didn't do something with cultural, then there's something we could do with veterans. I don't know what that would be, but we could, that could be a different conversation that we have, so.
Community partnerships. As I mentioned earlier, Latino Voices has in the past approached the Human Rights Commission and asked for our support in their Day of the Dead celebration, which generally happens November 1 and 2. And we've had, they have an event at the community center offering an ofrenda. So, and I understand that they're planning on doing something, but I have not received any final details, so that might be coming before us soon. Community partnerships.
Can I ask on that real quick? Just also thinking of the Latino celebration.
Music and Food Festival.
Music and Food Festival. I wonder also if, again, it's kind of the same month as the cultural celebration, so that could be, if there's not a celebration, is that something then we could maybe support them in a different way than we have in the past? And I don't even know if we know.
That is a Parks and Recreation Department
Okay,
event. And we can certainly reach out to our partners at Parks and Recreation and ask what it is that possibly we could do to help support that event. I think last year, if we had been a food in booth, we would have had lots of traffic.
yeah.
But we didn't have any food.
I was just impressed at how many people were there, and it just seems like a
Yes.
very impactful event, and so.
Absolutely. So I will put it on my list to reach out to our community partner at Parks and Recreation and send information to Elise that she can share with everyone. That event is September 13th. If you
Oh.
need to write down dates in your calendar, Latin Music and Food Festival is September 13th.
So I had in my mind it was in October, so it might be too late even at.
Yep. Before our meeting started, Juhi had a suggestion for us to consider for not this year, but perhaps next year. Do you want to briefly share your idea?
Sure. So before coming here, I came from Touch a Truck, which has now been moved to Chaska High School. And if you're unaware of what that is, it's basically an event for families in which they have all of the construction equipment. So the diggers, the excavators, the backhoes, they have police cars, they have buses and all those things. And then the idea is the kids touch the trucks. And then they also have a lot of the sports teams have booths there too. So Chaska Volleyball, my figure skating club does, the School of Dance does, a lot of the high school sports, along with a couple of city tables, and then they have food trucks as well. So I was just wondering why. I was kind of confused and surprised that we don't do anything for that because it seems like it would be another touch point for us to connect with the community and also connect with people who have families and small children. So just something for us to consider. It wouldn't be a huge commitment, and I envisioned it as being similar to River City Days, where we would have the spinning wheel and some kind of prize to entice young children, but that was my thought process behind it.
Good idea. My wife was there tonight. And they had a booth. She's at Treks and Trails, and so they had a booth that there.
Okay. that's how we start. That's how we get out in the community. So that'd be a good idea.
Mhm.
Speaking of being out in our community, those of us who were, and all of us were at River City Days, you're familiar with our banner. Our banner is long and it has our old logo on it. And, you know, we went through a very kind of exciting time when we received 17 or 20, I can't even remember, proposals for a changed logo. And we found a logo that we liked, and that's reflected on our t-shirts and our other material. And I'm thinking that we need to get a new banner that reflects us. And so that's part of my community partnership outreach is I think our swag dollars could be spent by getting us a new banner and maybe a different kind of a banner, one that doesn't have to drape on a table or doesn't have to have twist ties to hang it up at the back of the tent. So just wanted to give that suggestion. I don't have any prices or anything like that, but I just wanted to put that out there in case any of you thought we should get ourselves a new banner.
I think that's a great idea. And I was also thinking, instead of it being a banner, what if it's just part of the tablecloth, just printed on a tablecloth? Because then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, another good idea.
Do we hang the banner anywhere? I mean, do we take it and hang it at times? Have we ever hung it?
I've only ever hung it at the back of our River City Days booth. I've put it on the table at River City Days booth. When we were at the Leaders in the Arena last year, when Governor Walz came, and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan came to the Chaska Moravian Church, and the commission received their award, we had it up on the wall. Have I ever seen it anywhere else?
Another option might be is they have ones that are real compact and you pull it up and it's
like
probably
a
6 feet tall,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be another option. And if you'd like, if this is something you're interested in, we can go get some prices and bring it back for you all to consider if it's something you're interested in.
The only thing I don't like about those type of banners is when it's windy, that's very hard to keep up. But that was all of one time I've ever had to do the banners by myself. So very small sample size, and it was a windy day. So
I was gonna say, in another organization, I have a banner. It was quite like that. The stand is very heavy, so I guess if the wind blew it at the right way, it could certainly tip over. I've not had that trouble, but yeah,
I'd like to make a suggestion that we put together like a box of things that we can just take this box and go to wherever. So whatever needs to be in the box, spinning wheel, a tablecloth, a banner, candy bowls, whatever it is that needs to be in this box, we pick it and go instead of everyone searching for these items to have it here at this time. And so whether it's a cooler or whatever we need at that time. And we've got $4,500, you know, if we take $1,000 and start the box over the years, we can add to it whatever we need and then it's there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great idea.
it certainly does. Great idea.
And a cart to wheel the stuff or whatever we need to do it, we need to do.
Yeah,
There's some of those boxes that have the little handle, so that's the box. You got a box and then it pulls up and it's on wheels and it's pretty slick. Recruiters use it when they go to job fairs and it's a thing, so that's a great idea.
Of what we have right now, so you all know, and you can kind of build off of that if that's of interest too.
do you have time to do the inventory?
I have folks that can help me work on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. That would be wonderful. And if you wanted to take a look at exploring prices for a banner that is the vertical, is that vertical, right?
Yep.
Yep. And then a tablecloth with our logo. that would fit?
We'll give, like we do with swag, I'll give you a variety of options and you can kind of take a look and see how much, what you're interested in.
That would be great. Okay, so the other thing that we needed to talk about is attendance at this meeting that Brighton has scheduled for equity and human rights groups throughout the Twin Cities. And that date is September 26th. It's in Brighton. And the question is, collectively, do we want to go? Collectively, do we want to send just representatives? Do we want to carpool? I think that Britt and you would actually, would you be coming from that side of the cities and you would just go directly to Brighton?
Sixth. I would be coming from St. Paul.
So probably makes sense that you would go from that location to Brighton
Yeah.
as opposed to coming back to Chaska and then going.
Yeah.
Okay. So the bus, there is a bus, but it doesn't make sense that only two people go in the big bus. And so carpooling would be a good option. I just, for transparency, I will not be here on September, at the September meeting. I have another commitment that evening in the city of Carver. So if we choose just to say a few of us go and you want to still have a regular scheduled meeting, our vice chair, Jennifer, will conduct the meeting. I think that this meeting could potentially be exciting, have a good opportunity to learn. But what are your thoughts?
Do we have a time for that one?
Do we have a time?
6:30 to 8:30 PM.
So I think if I heard you correctly, you can make it work.
Yes.
Okay, so would you be interested in carpooling?
I don't know where I'm coming from then,
Okay,
whether I'd be at the high school or somewhere else, but I am a maybe on carpooling, but I can definitely be there.
okay.
Yeah, I can be there and I think it makes sense to go. I'd be open to carpooling, but I'm fine just driving if everybody else is coming from different places, so.
I think Jennifer has expressed that she would really like to carpool. I think you have indicated that you'd be willing to carpool. And then if you are there, and I believe Britt would be there. I don't know about Yusuf or Hannah.
That was a maybe, it just depended, and so I think what I'd do is sign her up and then let her know what options if she wanted to carpool.
Elise is willing to contact the city of Brighton. I'm sure, are they a city? Yeah, a city of Brighton, and let them know that the Chaska Human Rights Commission meeting would be there, or not meeting, representatives from the Human Rights Commission would be present and participating. So if we are agreeable to do that, then that's our official meeting for the month of September.
Sounds great.
Okay, I will get everybody signed up. I will kind of follow up what I heard and let everybody know kind of where it sits. And so the carpooling, I have Jen, Martin, and Ren right now. Juhi is a maybe, depending upon that. So there's 3.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the commission this evening?
This might be a little late, but for cultural heritage celebration, if we need funding for that, I'm assuming this would be the meeting to take that out. So then if we do spend things,
Smart woman you are.
so just in case, but then,
You are indeed right. We should do that.
Okay, so then
How much would you like to ask for?
whatever we don't use just gets added back, so
Right.
so I was just making a list of things that we're probably gonna have to consider, so some form of catering, decorations, tablecloths. I don't know if we're gonna be charged for the location or not.
No,
I think Kevin was able to secure the world without payment for
Okay,
this year.
so then that's off the list. And then what other favors or anything that we would need, like henna or related items? So,
Last year it was flags of the countries. It was
Yes,
some,
yes.
some types of
decorations.
decorations. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. If I recall, we were about 2,500 to 3,000 for,
yes, but remember
but
last
you got
year,
you got a grant.
I got a grant for
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and then I think we spent 1,500 to 1,800 of the dollars that the commission had.
Okay.
So I could be wrong.
And I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. Because in my head, I'm thinking catering is probably gonna take up the most.
Yeah.
And then after that, we can probably fill in the blanks.
Right.
How much are you thinking?
Yeah, you were right at about 3,000 for that. And you did receive a $2,000 grant.
I have not done anything with grant writing this year. So I would say that at the very least, we should ask maybe 1,800, 1,900.
Would you want to round up to just maybe 2,000? And then that seems like a amount we could do whatever we need to do with.
Mhm.
Okay.
So do you want to make that motion?
Sure. I would like to make a motion to approve $2,000 worth of funding for the Cultural Heritage Month celebration.
Second.
Motion has been made by Juhi and seconded by Ren to approve up to $2,000 from our budget for the Cultural Heritage Celebration activity. Is there any discussion?
Where's the event?
It would be at the Chaska Event Center.
Do we have a date yet?
I believe that date is October 4th. Any other questions?
What time is the event?
We started at, I think, 5 p.m. last year, and I think we'll do the same thing because it's a Friday. So then I have to dash from the high school to there, and then we had an hour-ish to set up, and that seemed like enough time.
Yeah.
So about 5 p.m.-ish, and then did we go until 7?
We scheduled it to 9, but things really had wrapped up by 8,
8.
8-ish, yeah.
I think that's a good period of time too.
There is a football game, a Chaska High School football game at Waconia at 7, so if that seems like that would work. People could leave it, or if we got people from the high school involved, there could be a.
Yes.
If there's no other questions, all those in favor of approving up to $2,000 from our budget for the cultural celebration activity in the month of October signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry.
Mine wasn't I. My lips just didn't move.
It's been a long day, long
No,
night.
you said it and everyone said I, and I was like, huh. Can't say no.
Well, you can say that.
No, I wasn't trying to say no.
Oh,
I just
okay.
didn't want to make a noise, so it's interpreted. Can I make a suggestion before we end for next year when we write the budget? When you
Yes,
think about the events that we're having, like every event seems to be around $15 to $2,000. Can we throw out a good number next year? Does that make sense? Will we have enough to do things? We're not too worried about things.
well, just to clarify, you know, we wrote a grant last year, I wrote a grant last year for the additional funding because we didn't have um, enough funds in our budget. But when I came to city council in January, all of the council members indicated their a positive uh, response, saying, if you need additional funding, come back to us. And so I just want to make sure that the commission knows that it's great to have additional funding. It's great to have sponsors because that builds our community, but also know that we do have a resource within the city as a possibility. That shouldn't preclude us or should not say, oh, sure, we'll just go and ask them for more money. But I think that we can, if we demonstrate that we're doing these activities and they're having positive ripple effects in our community, then it's certainly worth the small amount of money that we spend. And I think that we're good stewards. We spend wisely. Yeah, I just don't want you to think that we have to go door to door knocking right now. Okay, any other business should come for us this evening? Thank you so much for being here. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.